Well then, the Quinfall story gets a little bit more interesting as the devs have responded on Discord. Now you may have seen an older video surface which, if I'm honest, I had completely missed. It was a guy called Nuan, no idea how you say that name, and he was talking about how Quinfall might not exist, and in it there is basically some very serious evidence of a lot of assets being used. A lot of store assets being bought and just straight up being used in the trailer. And I don't just mean like a little bit here and there, I mean a lot of the trailers seems to have been assets that you could buy. This video I think was then watched by Asmongold, and now everybody knows about it, that's what everybody's talking about. Quinfall basically looks like an asset flip, which I guess on some level you could argue is a scam, but the devs have responded on Discord. Now what's interesting, Discord by the way is just awkward, so we're going to have to go with this weird format, but what's interesting is Nuan's actually in the Discord and he's commenting on it. This then causes one of the devs to reply, and they obviously don't deny the fact that they're using store-bought assets. If anything, they say one thing that is known very well is that ready-made assets are a factor that accelerates our development very much. They go on to say that it's very time-consuming to make these models, so yeah, they bought some. But they do say that many of the 3D models that were shown are now out of use. They've actually gone ahead and made their own. Obviously there's no real evidence of that, we don't know if that's true, but that's just what the devs are saying right now. And this next bit I sort of agree with, but you know, it's a bold statement. Much more important than this is how deep and smooth your in-game mechanics are. Basically saying, yeah, we use some store-bought assets, but if the game's good, you ain't gonna care. And to be fair, I actually fully agree with that. That doesn't get them off the hook at least, because, you know, we'll have to wait and see how the game is. They talk about how all the stuff that you actually need isn't readily available, so the 3D models are the last point that they're really bothered about. The maker of the original video goes on to say that the main problem is the fact that they presented this as a we made this rather than we bought this, but of course they wouldn't say that in the video, it wouldn't make any sense. We get another further statement here just a few minutes later I think, and how they understand your concern and your suspicion. Now I'm not sure what they mean by this. Our extra effort to refute these accusations will have a negative impact again in this environment. I'm not sure if they mean basically we should shut up and, you know, we just sort of make the game, or do they mean that they have to waste time to respond to these criticisms? I hope it's the former, because the second one would be pretty stupid. But they do say that all of these bad impressions will be refuted by the experience of our players in closed beta. And then they say, let me remind you that participation in all closed betas will be free of charge, and those after the first closed beta will not be covered by NDA. So this first one's going to be under NDA, so I don't know how they can actually refute it until it's actually, you know, not under NDA. But then the future ones will be free and not under NDA. I don't know who's going to get in that. I did apply to the content creation program. I think I also reached out to one of the devs and they didn't really reply back to me, but I'm trying to get in. I'd love to be somebody in there without an NDA. That would be sensational. But we'll see. When that happens, of course, they say there'll be live streams and videos can be shared. Well, that's an exciting time. But again, they go on to address that, yeah, we bought stuff. Basically, just to summarize that, it's like, yeah, we bought stuff, it helps us. They go on to say that there will be no difference between us showing 3D models made by us and you seeing them in the closed beta. And I have no idea what that means. But they say this is a move that companies have already been accused of. Fraud plus previously received money from players should do. Obviously, the problem here is that English is not their first language, and it doesn't really make that much sense here. I think they're saying what you see in the betas will be what you get, maybe. The tone of this one is a little bit sketch, to be fair. It's funny again to ask if you can do this to a company like Kyra Online, which has an infrastructure that can take 12,000 players on a single server. We already did it. The accuracy of the network infrastructure is important here, not the visual scene on the player side. Now the problem here, Kyra Online is a game that didn't really exist. They made it. Some people said it was a scam, by the way. If you actually translate some of the comments, they're all saying like it's a scam, it's not really a full game. And then the developer here is like, but we made this game that didn't get released, but that proves that we can do it. I mean, maybe, sort of, not quite, really, probably not. But the next line is sort of exciting. They say with the closed beta gameplay video that will be released before the closed beta, you will already see that the game really exists. Okay, that will be truly exciting. Although I don't really want to see the gameplay. What I want to see is other people play it. That's the only point I'll start believing it. Videos don't mean anything when it could be pre-rendered, pre-arranged, that kind of thing. So if you're wondering what will happen to the betas, now this person isn't a very technology employee, but the the dev here says that's right, so let's assume that this is correct. So what they're saying is the closed beta with an NDA will start on January 30th. That's where the Steam thing is coming from, and in my first video that's what I actually said. They were never planning on releasing the game at the first time. That's actually for the first beta. Now it's a closed beta, NDA, you're not going to see anything specific apart from maybe a trailer that the devs are doing. Then the second closed beta, of which is coming probably in many months' time, that will have no NDA, and players and publications can share the reviews. Now, it's a little bit weird because if it's closed beta, it really depends on who's going to get into that. Quite simply, they could just pick a lot of the shills, basically. Anybody who's a fan of the game, who they know they can trust, maybe they could just pick them. So that doesn't really fill me with any kind of like optimism. And then they say that there might be a third closed beta, which, to be fair, I just read the dev directly said that. And then the first open beta will be paid and available on Steam, which I sort of take to mean effectively early access probably. What's worrying here is that there is no open beta that is not paid. So unless you luckily get in and have applied, which I still haven't applied because I don't want to give them my phone number, then there's no guarantee that you'll get in, and we don't really know how many people are going to be in that second beta, so not really super confident filling, if that makes sense. So is the Quinfall real? Well, I wouldn't necessarily take the dev's word for that. The main key accusation for me is the fact that they are making a asset flip game, and then secondly, the accusation that they're going to have to pay if you want to play in the beta. That's the open beta. It's not really an open beta if you have to pay, but actually that's not that different from other industry standards. There are many times where you have to like pre-order a game to get access to it. In this case though, you're probably going to have to pay for the game, not pre-order the game and then get access to the beta. I think that's going to be a little bit sketchy. It's not going to be probably now for many months. I would be surprised if it's actually in the first half of this year. It's probably going to be the second half of this year. One of the key things will be is that closed beta, how many people get in, how many trustworthy, reliable sources are in that test that actually stream the game and stuff like that. We don't just want a handful of people, we want some legitimate content creators in there so that they can give a fair and balanced opinion. Whether or not that will happen, I don't know. I mean, honestly, what else would you expect the devs to say apart from, yeah, trust us, the game is real. Put simply, I won't trust them until it actually appears. And that is just healthy skepticism. The reality is, I think that they probably are trying to make something. I just don't think they're going to have the funding and the capacity to make something that's truly amazing. I think quite simply it'll probably be a scuffed MMO at the end of the day, at best. But I'm here to enjoy the journey and see what they do, and let's hope it's not another day before. For now, big shout out to my Patreons. I do really appreciate you guys. If you want to come watch me and talk about everything, come follow me over on Twitch. Have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.